Forrest, hey!
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing so well. It's so great to see you and so great to meet you. For all those who are tuning in, hi, I'm Anne with Broadway in Chicago. I'm super excited today. We are chatting with Forrest VanDyke from The Lion King, who plays Banzai, which is one of the hyenas. So, if you have any questions for Forrest, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll get to as many as possible. But Forrest, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Enjoying Chicago. You know, we have another week here, and I'm enjoying the weather. I actually like the cold weather. I love the food, so I'm doing really well.
So good. Okay, I have to ask, is this your first time in Chicago?
This is my first time in Chicago in the winter,
Okay.
so I was here in the summertime, but I had friends warn me about the winter weather, so I was sort of prepared. But this is the longest I've been in Chicago. It is beautiful. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Ah, so good. Well, you mentioned food. I have to ask, what has been your favorite food spot in Chicago? And like, if you're a pizza person, what's your favorite pizza spot you have discovered?
It's one of the same. The answer is one of the same. Pequot's, hands down, the best deep dish pizza I've had. Maybe the best pizza I've had. I just ordered some on Sunday, and like, it's so filling. It's delicious. Yeah, it's great. But if you have any other recommendations, let me know.
No, okay. Well, for all those who are tuning in, if you have pizza recommendations for Forrest, put them in the comments, and maybe he'll go to them. But Forrest, thank you so much. Well, I really want to start off with, your journey as an actor. And one thing I your bio on your website was that you were introduced to music through your dad, who was a saxophone player. When did that love of music start? Was that when you were a really young kid, or did that come teens or later in life?
I had an appreciation for music because Dad was always playing jazz records around the house, and was trying to tell me about these old jazz musicians, and I didn't really, I didn't want to listen to jazz at that time. It wasn't until I joined choir in school, and that was about around fourth grade, maybe fourth grade or fifth grade. And because I had a talent for music, I think that's where my interest grew. So it was around then where I started performing and actually listening to my dad and the musical influences that he was trying to tell me about.
Absolutely. When did that love for music shift to a love for acting?
Mm, Not until high school, actually. Um, I remember the first show that I was in fifth grade, and it was sort of a knockoff of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I was cast to be Joseph. And I remember being very nervous. And years later, my mom showed me a video of me in the show, and my head was down the whole time. I was so, I was so nervous, but I loved the response of the audience afterwards. Um, but it wasn't until high school that I really had a love for it. I had a drive for wanting to portray characters and embody, um, my imaginary life. I was the youngest of four kids, and so a lot of my time was spent in my room with my imagination. So to get the chance to embody all those things that were in my head was amazing. I felt like I was getting away with something. Yeah.
Was that one performance what led you to want to study acting? I see you study at Texas State University. Is that the moment that clicked of like, oh, maybe I want to do this professionally? Was it something later?
Yeah, that was sort of the moment where I wondered about being able to do this full time. And it wasn't until I was in high school where I started to think about my future, and what that might look like. And luckily, my parents were so supportive of me going into the arts and specifically acting. So it was around that time in high school when I started to think about college. I was like, yeah, I think I would like to study this professionally. Yeah.
So it looks like you have some fans in the comments. I'm going to read one right now. It says, "No question. I just wanted to say that Forrest is an amazingly talented artist and an even better person. My son and I had the pleasure and privilege of him in UT, and he was so kind to us." I have to say, with your time at University of Texas, what is really to you the importance of going to school for acting? Because I think sometimes people might think, oh, I'm not sure if I really need to go to school for acting, but what did you take away from going to school for it?
Well, I will say everyone's journey is different. So I wouldn't necessarily say that everyone needs to go to school for acting, but it was really helpful for me. At the time, Texas State was a very small program, so I received lots of one-on-one attention and was able to work one-on-one with my professors, which was really helpful for me. Um, and getting to explore different techniques and try on different characters, in a way that I is not necessarily true for the professional world. You get to try out certain things in a safe environment, which is really, really, really helpful for me. And I felt really prepared when I entered into the professional workforce.
If there's a piece of advice that you could give freshman college year you, what would
Man, have fun, man. Like have fun and be you. Like there's nobody like you, you know, and it's okay to be that, and that will help your work. That will help your work, and we will learn to love ourselves more and more.
absolutely. All right, so now you are on The Lion King, and you joined the company based on your Instagram post, I think about like a year or so ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, do you know? I didn't know this until I was backstage talking to our Scar Peter. He was like, "Happy anniversary!" Yesterday was my 1 year anniversary of
Oh,
actually, joining. Because I joined in Nashville last year, January 4th, and I was there for a month rehearsing, and then I made my debut in Detroit February 8th. So I've been here for a year officially. That's wild.
oh my goodness, congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you.
What is something that, well, first of all, I want to backtrack slightly because this is not your first tour, correct?
Right. This is correct.
So, with the previous tours that you have done, what are some things that you have learned that you now do on the Lion King tour that you take with you as you travel the country?
Well, okay, so I have to be clear. So the last two tours I did were were nothing on the scale of what Lion King is. They were wonderful. Those were the first two jobs I had when I moved to New York, and they were children's tours, really bus and truck. There was two vans, and we unloaded the set. We loaded the set back in. We performed everything, and then we traveled on our own. I did laundry, on those tours. So stamina is one thing I learned that has come really in handy on this tour. Um, Care for my coworkers because um, we you are your weakest link. You know what I mean? So you gotta make sure you're there for each other. And touring can be rather challenging. So really care and love for your coworkers are the main things that I've carried into this experience.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the the culture and just the community of the Lion King company? I mean, on stage presence, y'all gel so well, and it's so
Thank
evident.
you.
Can you give us a little bit of a glimpse of like what it's like backstage with all of these people?
Yeah, sure. I will say, like, inevitably, because you're around the same people all the time, you form a type of a family. And I felt so supported when I arrived into this family, into this pride. And so it's, people are joking and laughing and singing, and there's so much joy, which is really a pleasure. Because, like I said, the grind of tour is real. And I think that's another reason why everyone has bonded so closely together because we need each other. We need each other. And it feels like a family. And there are people who I can rely on, who I've been able to call really close friends and who I believe will be in my life for forever.
So awesome. So you play Banzai, which is one of the hyenas.
Yeah.
Um, do you like playing a villainous-esque character?
Oh, yeah. I mean, villains are the most fun to play. You get leeway to do things that you couldn't do in your everyday life. And Banzai, is a psychopath. So um, it's just so much fun. There are no holds barred with Banzai or the hyenas, and I love getting to play with Martina who plays Shinzi and Robbie who plays Ed. um, every performance, there's a possibility of something new and wild. And so, yeah, Banzai is the most fun. Yeah.
I I apologize. I think I pronounced your character's name wrong previously, but Bonzi and all the hyenas you're in, um, you're like squatting, half squatting with full puppetry as well. Tell us a little bit about, adapting this character and working with the puppetry and like using your hand as like the face and like what was the learning process of all that? It's incredible.
I remember I was at the callback in New York and was sort of thrown into the puppet with the harness comes around my head and my hand goes inside the head and there's these legs in my left hand that sort of detach if I need them to and come back together. I was like, what? So it's a bit like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at first. And luckily, our director, Keith, was Banzai for like almost 20 years. So he was the one training me for that month in Nashville and got me really comfortable with the puppet. And it's physically demanding. You feel things in your back, but it is also magical too. When you're doing it, but then you look at yourself in the mirror, you can sort of see the animal staring back at you, you know? And it also, this job feels more like an actor athlete hybrid than any other job I've been in. This is the most physical job that I've been in. So it is challenging. It's caused me to want to stay in the gym, outside of my time on stage. But the training process was made easier because Keith was there guiding me through it. Yeah.
We have a question here about how did you adapt the iconic character from the film and make it your own on stage? There's a lot more character development to the hyenas in general on the stage.
I remember I went back and watched the animated film before I auditioned, and I just wanted to take an essence of like Banzai's laissez-faire attitude, carefree but dangerous attitude. And then once I got into the rehearsal room with Keith, one of the first things he said was, every Banzai is different. And so you can make this yours. And I felt encouraged to do so. And so I was trying to find, it was really fun discovering what his voice was and, through me, and what his movements like were through me. And I felt like he was really gravelly. He lives sort of in the darker area of my voice, juxtaposed against Shinzi, who's sort of in the higher end of her voice. It was, and it took over this year. It took that year to discover more parts of him. I'm sure that's going to continue to happen the longer that I stay with Banzai. I think that's part of the beauty of being in a long running show. That character continues to grow and develop with me.
Absolutely. One of your favorite parts of your bio that I love, you write at the end, I want to thank my parents who are my biggest cheerleaders. And then in your when you announced that you got the role on Instagram, in your cap, you write, you thank a bunch of people and you say, namely my mom and dad, who are beautiful examples of what human love can look like. I want to talk briefly before our time comes to a close of just like having a support system, especially as an actor. And I think, a big part of this, it's evident that your parents are a big part of your support system.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And they still are. They are my biggest cheerleaders. They are my biggest sounding boards. They are my biggest supporters. And I know that I would not be here without them. I'm so blessed, I'm so blessed to have them in my life. And I also feel really lucky that one of the first stops on the tour was Austin, my hometown. And so we came through there, and so they were able to see, me do this thing and able to see sort of the fruits of their labor, you know, and that made me feel very proud.
Absolutely. Um, One last question to round us out is what do you hope folks know about the show prior to seeing the show? Because it is a little bit different from the animated version, but I think in a really fantastic way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it it encompasses all the things you love about the animated film that you know, and then it's so much more. You know, it is immersive, it is magical, it is sort of tactile in a way too. You know, you see these amazing puppets come to life, and they're larger than life, and they're in your face, and it is a full experience. It capitalizes on what you already know about the animated film and makes it magical in a real way.
So fantastic. Forrest, thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us. We're so grateful. For all those who are watching, come out, see The Lion King. It's playing until January 14th only at the Cadillac Palace Theater. Get your tickets, Broadway and Chicago.com. You will not want to miss Forrest as Banzai. Such fantastic portrayal of the role and the rest of the entire company. I know tickets are going very quickly and most performances are nearly sold out, but we do have $25 lottery and $49 rush. You can find those details at broadwayandchicago.com. And also check back daily on Ticketmaster for daily ticket releases in case more tickets get released. But for those who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you at the theater soon. Forrest, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your time in Chicago.
Thank you. This was fun.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.